All right, let's get into it. We use web apps literally every single day, right? Checking your email, scrolling social media. But have you ever stopped to wonder what's really going on under the hood? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to pull back the curtain on the so-called magic that makes the modern web tick.
Think about it. You type a web address, you hit enter, and poof, a full website just appears. It feels instant, almost magical. But it's not magic. It's actually a lightning-fast, perfectly choreographed dance between different pieces of technology. So what exactly is that dance?
Okay, so first things first, let's get on the same page. A web app isn't like the software you install on your computer. Nope. It actually lives somewhere else entirely, on a super powerful computer called a server. Your browser, whether it's Chrome or Safari or whatever you use, is basically just the window you look through to use it.
At its core, the entire web is built on one simple, fundamental relationship. You can think of it like a constant conversation, a kind of handshake that happens millions of times a second all across the globe between two key players.
And those two players, they're called the client and the server. It's pretty simple, really. Your browser is the client. Its job is to ask for stuff. The server, on the other hand, is that powerful computer we just mentioned. Its entire reason for existing is to listen for those requests and then serve up the right information.
This diagram here shows that conversation in action. You type a URL into your browser. The browser then looks up the server's real address in a special address book called DNS. Once it has the address, it sends a request over to that server. The server gets the request, finds what you're looking for, and sends a response all the way back. Your browser catches that response and puts it all together into the web page you see. That cycle, request, response, is the very heartbeat of the internet. Okay, so the server sends something back. But what is it sending? Let's take a look at what we can call the front stage. This is the part of the app that you, the user, actually get to see and play with. So, every single web page you've ever seen is built with three core ingredients. You've got HTML, which is like the skeleton of the page. It gives it all its structure, the headings, the paragraphs. Then you've got CSS, which is the clothing. It's the designer that adds all the colors, the fonts, the layout, making it look good. And finally, you have JavaScript. That's the brain. It makes the page interactive, letting you click buttons, see pop-ups, and get live updates.
Now, this is where things get really clever. Your browser doesn't just see a wall of code. It reads the HTML and builds this interactive map of the page, a logical tree, called the Document Object Model, or the DOM. Think of it like a live blueprint of the website. And because it's a live blueprint, JavaScript can come in and change any part of the page on the fly without having to reload the whole thing. It's how modern websites feel so fast and responsive.
And this all points to a really crucial design idea called separation of concerns. You keep the structure, the HTML, completely separate from the style, the CSS. This is unbelievably powerful. It means a web designer could go in and completely change the entire look and feel of a website just by editing one CSS file without ever having to touch the actual content or structure of the pages. So that's the front stage, but where does all that content, all that data actually come from? Well, for that, we need to go backstage and take a peek at the server's hidden logic.
A really common way to organize all that backstage logic is a pattern called Model View Controller, or MVC. And honestly, the best way to get it is to think of a restaurant. You, the user, are looking at the menu. That's the view. The controller is your waiter. You place your order, and the waiter takes that request to the kitchen. The kitchen is the model. It prepares your food, which is the data. Then the waiter, the controller, brings it all back to your table, the view.
Now, that model, the kitchen, is the absolute heart of the application's data. And we're not just talking about a simple text file. This is almost always a super organized system called a relational database. It's built from the ground up to store, connect, and pull out information with incredible speed and efficiency. So, for example, instead of having one giant, messy spreadsheet, a database keeps information in neat, separate tables. Here you can see we have one table for students and a totally separate one for hostels. See how each hostel has its own unique ID, and each student is then linked to one of those hostel IDs. This is way more efficient because you're not repeating the hostel information for every single student. So, how do you put them together when you need to? With a special language called SQL. With just one simple command, you can tell the database to join these two tables using that ID they share. And just like that, You get a complete, meaningful list connecting every student to their hostel. This is the fundamental magic that lets web apps handle massive amounts of data. So, we've got our client front stage and our server backstage. But how do they actually talk to each other from potentially opposite sides of the world? That, my friends, is the final piece of the puzzle. The technology that connects everything is actually built on principles that are decades old. It happened in layers. Back in the 80s, we got TCP/IP, which gave us a reliable way to send little packets of data across networks. Then came hypertext, the idea of linking documents together, and finally in the 90s we got HTTP, the official protocol or set of rules for requesting and serving all those linked documents. You can think of HTTP as the official language of the web. It's the rulebook that everyone agrees to follow. It defines exactly how a client should ask for something, like with a GET request to fetch a page, and how a server should reply. Whether it's with a 200 OK, which means everything's good, or the infamous 404 not found when a page has gone missing.
And here is one of the most important and frankly kind of surprising things you need to know about HTTP. It is completely stateless. What that means is every single request you make is a brand new interaction. The server has zero memory of who you are or what you asked for just a second ago. Every click is like meeting for the first time. And that's exactly why other technologies, like cookies and sessions, had to be invented. They were created specifically to give the server a way to remember who you are as you browse a site.
And that's pretty much it. From that simple client-server handshake to the front-end stage that you see and the back-end kitchen that prepares all the data, all of it connected by that stateless language of HTTP. That is the blueprint of a modern web app. So the next time you hit refresh, you'll know. It's not magic. It's just a beautiful, intricate dance of technology that you now understand.